Picture this. The Plaza Hotel in New York City, November 2025. Cameras flashing everywhere, and there's Olandria, absolutely stunning in a berry-toned gown that's got everyone talking, with Nick right by her side, looking at her like she hung the moon. The Glamour Women of the Year awards. WNBA stars are giving them official game invites. Fashion designers are begging to dress her. And everyone's asking the same question: how did we get here? Because just months ago, these two were fighting their connection on Love Island USA Season 7. Nick was with Cierra, Olandria was loyal to Taylor, and Ace and the rest of the villa watched as Nicolandria, that's their couple name by the way, kept dancing around what everyone else could see clear as day. This isn't your typical dating show romance. This is the story of two people who kissed on day one, spent 50 days convincing themselves they were better off apart, and somehow ended up becoming the most talked about couple of the entire season. But their story, nobody saw it coming.
Quick thing before we dive in, if you're here for the tea, the drama, and the real behind-the-scenes stuff, smash that subscribe button. I promise I won't be as indecisive as these two were in the villa. Unlike them, I'll commit right now to bringing you the best content. See what I did there?
Let's rewind to where it all began. Day 1 in the Fiji villa, June 2025. The sun's setting, the drinks are flowing, and 20-something beautiful singles are meeting for the first time. Among them, a 27-year-old elevator and escalator professional from Decatur, Alabama named Olandria Carthen, and a 24-year-old registered nurse from Jacksonville, Florida named Nick Vansteenberghe. During the first impressions coupling, Olandria had a choice to make. She could kiss anyone she wanted before deciding who to couple up with. And here's the thing nobody talks about enough. She kissed Nick first. She kissed him on day 1, but then she also kissed Taylor Williams, the Oklahoma cowboy with the country charm, and ultimately chose to couple up with him instead. Why? Because she liked that he was from Oklahoma. That's it. That was the reason. Meanwhile, Nick coupled up with someone else and eventually found his way to Sierra Ortega, and they became one of the villa's strongest power couples. But the universe wasn't done with these two yet. Later that same day, there was a blindfolded kissing challenge. The kind of challenge where you can't see who you're kissing, you just have to go with your gut. And wouldn't you know it, Nick chose to kiss Olandria. And when it was her turn, Olandria picked Nick and Ace Green. The chemistry was there from the literal beginning, crackling like electricity every time they were near each other during challenges. Here's where it gets interesting though. For weeks, neither of them acknowledged it. Olandria stayed loyal to Taylor, building what looked like a solid relationship even though it moved at a pace that made sloths look speedy. Nick and Cierra were thriving, laughing together, making plans, being that couple everyone thought might actually go the distance. But the viewers? The viewers saw something different. They saw the way Nick's eyes would follow Olandria across the villa. They saw how Olandria lit up during challenges when she was partnered with Nick. The fans started hashtagging Nicolandria before Nicolandria was even a thing.
The thing about Love Island is that it's designed to test connections. You can say you're solid with someone all day long, but until you face real temptation, real alternatives, real moments of doubt, you don't actually know. And for weeks, it seemed like maybe the fans were seeing something that wasn't really there. Maybe Nick and Olandria were just good friends who happened to have crazy chemistry during competitions. Maybe everyone was reading too much into stolen glances and the way they gravitated toward each other without even realizing it. But deep down, something was building. A foundation was forming, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, laugh by laugh. They were becoming genuine friends in a place where genuine friendship is actually pretty rare. Most people in that villa were focused on romance, on strategy, on making sure they didn't get dumped. Nick and Olandria were just being real with each other. No pressure, no expectations. They didn't know it yet, but they were building something way more important than a showmance. They were building trust.
Then came Casa Amor. For anyone who doesn't know, Casa Amor is basically Love Island's way of throwing a grenade into every relationship and seeing who survives the explosion.
The couples get separated. The original islanders stay in the main villa while new bombshells come in to tempt them. Meanwhile, the other half of the couples go to a second villa where different bombshells try to turn their heads. It's designed to create maximum chaos, and in Season 7, it absolutely delivered. Olandria was in Casa Amor when Zach showed interest in her. But plot twist, he ended up coupling up with Amaya instead, leaving Olandria completely single. She had stayed loyal to Taylor, hadn't explored any connections, and now she was about to walk back into the main villa alone, while Taylor had other plans. He chose to couple up with Clark Carraway, one of the Casa Amor girls. After all those weeks of loyalty, of slow burn romance, of Olandria being patient with their connection, Taylor essentially said, "Thanks but no thanks," and moved on.
Meanwhile, Nick was in the main villa with the Casa Amor girls, and he couldn't find a connection with any of them. He'd been pursuing Jaden Duggar, trying to see if maybe there was something there, but she ended up choosing to couple with Austin instead. So now Nick was single too. Both of them dumped during the same Casa Amor twist. Both of them probably feeling pretty rough about their situations. But here's where Love Island USA Season 7 threw in a twist that nobody saw coming. Instead of just sending them home, production offered them a lifeline. A getaway car pulled up and they were given a choice: couple up with each other and return to the villa, or leave the show entirely. They could save each other, or they could both go home. They chose to save each other. They got in that car, headed to a private date, and the moment they'd been building towards since day one finally happened. They shared a kiss that would later be nicknamed the Soul Ties Kiss, and it went absolutely viral. Fans were losing their minds. This was it. This was the moment. Nicolandria was finally happening for real. Except it wasn't. After all that buildup, after that kiss that had the entire Love Island fandom screaming at their screens, Nick and Olandria decided they were better off as friends. They walked back into the villa together, but not as a romantic couple, just as friends who saved each other from elimination. The disappointment from viewers was palpable. People had been shipping them for weeks, and now that they finally had their chance, they were friend-zoning each other. But here's the thing they both said later. They were still in their heads about their previous connections. Olandria was hurt by what Taylor did. Nick was processing everything with Cierra. Neither of them was emotionally available to give a new relationship the attention it deserved, even if that relationship was with each other. So they made what seemed like the mature choice. They decided to continue pursuing their original connections and stay friends. Looking back now, you can see they were both scared. Scared of ruining a genuine friendship. Scared of being each other's rebound. Scared that what the fans saw might not actually be real. And if they tried and it didn't work out, they'd lose something special. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't being alone. It's risking something real. Life in the Love Island villa continued. Nick and Cierra got back together. Olandria tried to work things out with Taylor, and Nicolandria fans watched in agony as these two kept choosing other people. But sometimes, life has a way of making decisions for you, whether you're ready or not. On day 26, something completely unexpected happened. Cierra was removed from the Love Island USA Season 7 villa. The reason? Social media posts from her past surfaced online showing her using a racial slur, and production made the call to remove her from the show. One day she was there, the next day she was gone, and Nick was left standing in the villa trying to process what just happened. Nick later said it was completely surreal. She just left. He didn't get a goodbye, didn't get closure, didn't get any explanation in the moment. Just woke up one day and she was gone for what he was told were personal reasons. He was rattled, confused. And now he was facing yet another situation where he needed to find a new coupling or risk being dumped from the island himself. This is where Olandria showed up as the friend she'd always been.
While everyone else in the villa was probably thinking about strategy and who was going to couple up with whom, Olandria went to Nick to check on him, to make sure he was okay, to give him space to talk about what he was feeling. They had one of those real, raw conversations that you don't see a lot on reality TV. No games, no performance for the cameras, just two people who genuinely cared about each other, talking about some heavy stuff.
During that conversation, they both had realizations. They talked about how their previous decisions had been clouded by the pressure of the villa, by the opinions of others, by trying to make connections work that maybe weren't meant to work. They talked about the what-ifs and the missed chances and the fact that they kept ending up in each other's orbit no matter how hard they tried to stay in separate lanes. And then they made a decision. They decided to try again. For real this time. Not because they were both single and needed to couple up to stay on the show, but because they finally admitted to themselves what everyone else had been seeing since day one. They had something special, something worth exploring, something they'd been too scared or too stubborn to acknowledge until that moment.
Nick later explained his thought process during that time. He said he'd been doing a lot of reflection behind the scenes. He told himself that if whatever was happening in the outside world with Cierra was something he didn't align with, then staying in the villa to pursue someone else could be perceived as him supporting that. He gave himself permission to stay, to see what his values aligned with, and to make a choice based on what felt right to him. That choice was Olandria. When they finally coupled up for real, something shifted. You could see it in the way they looked at each other. This wasn't the casual friendship vibe from before. This wasn't the tentative, maybe we should try this energy from Casa Amor. This was two people who had finally stopped fighting what they felt and decided to lean all the way in. They became inseparable. The chemistry that had always been there exploded into full view. And suddenly, Nicolandria wasn't just a fanship anymore, it was real.
Okay, real talk. If you're invested in this story now, imagine how invested you'll be in all my other videos. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any drama. Plus, unlike Nick and Olandria, I won't make you wait 50 days for the good stuff. Promise.
So here's a fun fact that not a lot of people talk about. Nick and Olandria were the only couple from day one who both made it all the way to the finale together. Think about that. They entered that villa on the same day, kissed on the same day, spent nearly 2 months coupled up with other people, and still ended up standing in that finale together against all odds. If that's not fate, I don't know what is. The finale of Love Island USA Season 7 was emotional for everyone, but especially for Nick and Olandria. When it came time for them to read their speeches to each other, the walls came all the way down. Olandria told Nick, "As we turn the page and step into the real world, I'm excited to keep learning about you, sharing laughs, creating memories, and seeing where the connection takes us. Here's to something new, real, and hopefully everlasting." Everlasting. That's not a word you throw around lightly in a place like Love Island. Then Nick got up to speak, and he said something that made everything make sense. He admitted he'd always been her secret admirer. All those weeks when they were with other people, all those challenges where they kept choosing each other, all those moments the fans were screaming at their screens, he was watching her the whole time. He said the beautiful part of their relationship stemmed from missing all those signs early on. They were so deeply involved with their other connections that they couldn't see what was right in front of them. But here's the moment that made everyone simultaneously cringe and laugh and kind of love him even more. When Olandria was asked if the journey was worth the wait, Nick grinned and said, "They call me Big Belgian for a reason." The entire villa, the host, the viewers at home, everyone cringed, but Olandria blushed and confirmed it was worth the wait. That's when you knew this was real. When you're comfortable enough to make terrible jokes and still get the girl, that's relationship goals right there. When it came time for the votes to be counted, Nick and Olandria came in second place. The winners were Amaya, Papaya, and Brian, who absolutely deserved their win. But here's the thing about coming in second. Sometimes it means you won something bigger than a trophy. Nick and Olandria had won the hearts of an entire fandom. They'd proven that friendship could turn into love, that timing isn't everything, that sometimes the long way around is actually the right way. The other couples that season followed the traditional Love Island formula: fast connections, physical attraction, dramatic recouplings. Nick and Olandria did it differently. They built a foundation first. They became friends when there was no pressure, no expectations, just two people learning each other over time. Olandria said it best during the finale: "I really think the foundation to a great relationship is always friendship, when there is no expectations and no pressure. Just two individuals learning each other over time. I came to realize something. The person who has been standing beside you through it all may actually be the person you were meant to find."
Walking out of that villa as runners-up, they had something most winners don't get: a genuine love story that took its time. They had the kind of connection that doesn't look perfect on paper, but feels perfect in real life. And they had an army of fans ready to follow every moment of their journey in the real world.
Leaving the Love Island villa is always a trip. You go from this bubble where your biggest concern is who's going to couple up with whom, to suddenly having access to social media, seeing everything people said about you, dealing with fame you didn't have 6 weeks ago. For Nick and Olandria, that transition came with a unique kind of pressure. The pressure of having thousands of people invested in whether their relationship would work. About a month after the finale, they did the Love Island USA reunion, and host Ariana Madix asked them the question everyone wanted to know: where do things stand? Nick was honest about the pressure. He said there had been a lot of it from passionate Nicolandria shippers. Olandria agreed, saying the support had been insane, and not always in a good way. When you have that many people rooting for you, it also means that many people watching your every move, analyzing every Instagram post, freaking out anytime you're not together. In fact, hours before the reunion, fans noticed that Nick and Olandria weren't following each other on Instagram anymore and immediately panicked. Were they broken up? Was it over? Had the pressure gotten to them? Turns out, they were fine. They were still 10 toes down, as they put it, still committed, still taking things at their own pace, despite what everyone else thought they should be doing. Nick explained their philosophy. "We've always been believers in taking our time with things and not let outside pressure dictate our relationship. We're going on trips together, we have future dates planned." They weren't rushing to put labels on things just because fans wanted them to be exclusive or official or whatever terminology makes people feel comfortable. They were moving at a speed that felt right for them. And honestly, that's probably why they're still together when so many other Love Island couples have crashed and burned.
During an appearance on Keke Palmer's podcast in July, Olandria opened up more about the pressure they were feeling. She said, "I was like, bro, I'm feeling a lot of pressure from the media. You know what I mean?" He was like, "I think we should continue to go at the pace we're going. It's no reason for us to jump ship." She emphasized that they still really liked each other, that their connection was genuine, even when people questioned it, and that they were going to keep going at their own pace no matter what anyone said. But the most beautiful part of their post-villa relationship? Nick's support has allowed Olandria to step into a version of herself she's always wanted to be. In an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen in August, she got emotional talking about it. "I'm so happy that I was blessed with this guy who allows me to bask in my femininity. You know what I mean? Allows me to be soft. He takes the wheel. Usually I'm a control freak. I let him do everything. The support that I have from this guy is unreal. It allows me to be the soft woman I've always wanted to be, so I'm so grateful."
That hit different because Olandria's job before Love Island was working with elevators and escalators, a male-dominated industry where she probably had to be tough, had to hold her own, had to prove herself constantly. Finding a partner who lets her put that guard down and just be,
That's everything. They were going to Disneyland together, planning trips, meeting each other's families, doing all the normal relationship stuff that somehow feels revolutionary when you remember they met on a dating show where most couples don't make it past the reunion. His mom had been Team Nicolandria from day one, telling everyone she felt a spark between them initially. She says she liked Olandria because she's got a good head on her shoulders and she's very authentic. When your man's mom is already in your corner, you know you're doing something right.
Fast forward a few months, and Olandria isn't just the girl from Love Island anymore. She's becoming a legitimate fashion girl, and the industry is taking notice in a major way. November 3rd, 2025. The CFDA Fashion Awards at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. This isn't some influencer event or reality TV red carpet. This is fashion royalty. This is where Rihanna shows up, where designers who define culture come to celebrate each other. And walking that red carpet with designer Brandon Blackwood is Olandria, wearing a custom chocolate brown satin gown that has people doing double takes. The dress was made of calf hair, in a brown so rich it looked edible, with a strapless design that hugged her perfectly before releasing into a dramatic slit and soft train. There was a Jessica Rabbit energy to it, but thoroughly modern. Brandon Blackwood, who's better known for his coveted mini trunk bags, designed it specifically for her, and he twinned with her on the carpet in a matching brown suit. They look like fashion power partners, and the whole moment reinforced what people were starting to realize. Olandria wasn't just attending these events for Instagram content, she belonged there.
Fashion critics were calling her the Bama Barbie, and honestly, it fits. She brought that southern charm mixed with high fashion sophistication, and she made it look effortless. Her short flipped bob and bronze glam tied the whole look together. This was someone who understood fashion as an art form, not just something you wear. But the really big moment came the next night, November 4th, 2025, the Glamour Women of the Year Awards at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. This event honored women like Tyla, Demi Moore, Rachel Zegler, Pat McGrath, women who are literally defining culture right now. And Olandria was there, not as a plus one, not as an afterthought, but as someone who understood the assignment. She showed up in a fuchsia silk taffeta gown that immediately became one of the most talked about looks of the night. The dress had a bustier, a bustle, rose-structured draping. It was giving old Hollywood glamour, but with a modern twist. The color was described as borderline holographic, capturing every berry tone you could imagine: cranberry, plum, pomegranate, blackberry. Fashion outlets were literally saying she ushered in a winter 2025 color trend. But it wasn't just the dress. Olandria honored Pamela Anderson, who was a 2024 Glamour Woman of the Year, with her beauty look. She rocked a Pamela Anderson-influenced updo with a smoky eye that gave total bombshell energy. The styling, the confidence, the way she carried herself. This was someone who had studied fashion, who understood references, who knew how to make a moment. Fans who'd been following her since Love Island were proud, but they weren't surprised. Olandria had always had star quality. Now, she finally had the platform to show it.
And where was Nick during all this? Flying in whenever he could to support her. Despite both of them having very hectic schedules, as Olandria told Access Hollywood, he was making it work. She said, "He's been doing an amazing job. I know we both have very hectic schedules, so he flies in whenever he can to support me with whatever I have going on, and same here." That's partnership. That's showing up even when it's not convenient. The fashion world was welcoming her with open arms, and she was returning that love with authentic enthusiasm and genuine style. From reality TV to red carpet regular in just a few months, that's not luck, that's work. That's someone who understood the assignment and executed it flawlessly.
October 27th, 2025. Just when things were going perfectly, drama from the Love Island season came roaring back in the ugliest possible way.
Huda Mustafa, who had placed third on Love Island USA Season 7 with Chris Seeley before they split, was doing a TikTok livestream with her boyfriend Louis Russell from Too Hot to Handle. They were taking calls from fans, laughing, having what probably seemed like a normal stream. Then someone called in and used a racial slur directed at Olandria, and Huda and Louis laughed.
Let that sink in for a second. Someone used one of the most painful, loaded words in the English language to refer to a person they both knew, someone Huda had lived with in the villa, and their first reaction was to laugh. After the laugh, Russell said, "Whoa, hey," and Huda asked, "Yo, what the fuck, what did they say?" before they hung up on the caller. But that moment of laughter was already out there, already being screen recorded, already going viral. The response was immediate and furious. This wasn't just about Huda and Louis making a mistake. This was about something way bigger. See, during the Love Island season, Olandria and another contestant named Chelley Bissainthe had called Huda out for not defending them against racist attacks they were receiving from online fans. When Olandria and Chelley would get into arguments with Huda on the show, Huda's fans would flood their social media with racist harassment, and Huda never once told her fans to stop, never addressed it, never stood up for them.
Now here was Huda, months later, laughing when someone used that language about Olandria. It felt like confirmation of everything Olandria and Chelley had been saying, that Huda didn't take racism seriously, that she weaponized her tears to paint them as bullies while her fans attacked them, that she benefited from that racism even if she wasn't directly participating in it. Olandria's response was powerful and measured. She took to Instagram and wrote, "I do not condone racism of any kind, nor do I entertain it. That kind of language is never acceptable, not in anger, not as a joke, not ever. Words like that carry generations of pain, and pretending otherwise only keeps the cycle going. Defending it, laughing about it, or making excuses is even worse." She didn't just condemn the language, she turned it into action. She encouraged people to donate to organizations dedicated to educating and uplifting the community. UNCF, NAACP, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. She said, "I will not let this moment derail my purpose of uplifting my community. I'm standing firm in who I am and using this as an opportunity to call for real accountability and awareness." Huda initially tried to downplay the situation. Her first statement said she and Louis did not hear it very well when the person used the slur. That response made things worse because it sounded like she was making excuses. People weren't buying it. After massive backlash, she issued a second, longer apology where she acknowledged the comment was targeted at Olandria and said her reaction came from being caught off guard, not from finding it funny. She pledged to donate to the NAACP and encouraged her followers to do the same.
Louis Russell also issued an apology, emphasizing that as someone who's dealt with racism, he understood the weight of the situation and that his flustered response was misinterpreted. But here's where it got really serious. Huda Beauty, the cosmetics company that had just started a partnership with Huda Mustafa weeks before, dropped her entirely. The brand put out a statement saying, "At Huda Beauty, kindness and humanity are at the heart of what we do. We are truly disappointed by Huda Mustafa's recent live, and we take all forms of racism very seriously." They removed all content related to her from their social media and in-store displays. The founder, Huda Carthen, who's not related to Huda Mustafa despite the coincidental name, had called their partnership our most requested collaboration. Now it was over, just like that.
The most powerful moment, though? Chelley Bissainthe defending Olandria publicly. On the red carpet at the 2025 Glamour Women of the Year Awards, Chelley told Extra, "Everyone deserves to be defended, you know, and especially in that situation. I can resonate in so many different ways, you know, and it just wasn't fair. And she didn't deserve that. So I just wanted her to know that she wasn't standing by herself and that there are people who see her, hear her, and have her back. That's sisterhood. That's using your platform for something real." Olandria didn't have to face that moment alone because she had people who loved her standing beside her.
Back to something lighter, because Olandria and Nini weren't about to let drama define their story. At the Glamour Women of the Year Awards, they ran into some WNBA players who told them they could come to games anytime they wanted. The whole interaction was wholesome and fun, with everyone taking pictures together and Nini making sure to take advantage of the moment. You could see in his face that he was genuinely excited, not just playing up for the cameras. Official invites to WNBA games from professional athletes? That's when you know you've made it beyond just reality TV fame.
And speaking of making it, Nick had something major coming up. The New York City Marathon on November 2nd. He was running with Team Strava, and he admitted to Today that he decided to run a bit later in the training process than most people would. The week of the marathon ended up being the busiest week since leaving the villa, which is saying something considering how packed their schedules had been. But what he said about life after the marathon is what really showed where his head was at. He told them that once he got through the race and into November, he and Olandria would have a lot more downtime. He said, "I think at this point, we're looking for just a breath of fresh air from all the hecticness. I've said this before, like, I want to go on our hot air balloon date, I want to do all these things, but at this point, I'm like, I just want to sit on a couch and do nothing with her. That sounds elite."
That's the most real thing anyone said about a relationship in a long time. After all the fashion events, the marathon training, the appearances, the brand deals, the constant being on, sometimes the dream isn't a hot air balloon ride. Sometimes it's just sitting on a couch with the person you love, doing absolutely nothing, being boring together. They're still taking things at their own pace. Still haven't put an official label on it like boyfriend and girlfriend, though let's be real, everyone knows what they are. They're Nicolandria. They're the couple that made fans wait all season and then delivered something worth waiting for. They're visiting each other's hometowns, making future plans, supporting each other's individual journeys while building something together.
When Olandria was asked about her favorite moment since leaving Love Island, she didn't mention any specific event or award. She said it was breaking out into the fashion industry and into the fashion world. "I think everybody here has been welcoming me with open arms, and I've been so excited to be part of events like this." She's building her own identity separate from being Nick's girlfriend or that girl from Love Island. She's becoming Olandria, the fashion icon, the red carpet regular, the woman who understands that style is about more than just looking good, it's about telling a story. And Nick? He's right there cheering her on. At the Glamour Awards, when asked who he would honor for being amazing, he didn't hesitate. Olandria Karen, because against all odds, she's been overcoming a lot of obstacles these past couple months, and I'm proud of her. Against all odds. That phrase carries weight when you think about everything she's faced. The racism from fans during the season, the Huda situation, the pressure of being in a relationship that thousands of people feel entitled to comment on, the transition from reality TV to legitimate fashion spaces where people might not take you seriously at first.
But she's overcome it all, and she's done it with grace and style and authenticity that you can't fake. She's proved that Love Island can be a launching pad for something real if you're willing to put in the work and stay true to who you are. The couple that nobody thought would happen, the couple that took the scenic route to get together, the couple that made fans wait 50 days and then delivered the kind of love story that actually feels real, they're still going strong. They're still figuring it out, still taking their time, still doing things their way, regardless of what anyone else thinks they should be doing.
So let's recap this wild ride. Nick and Olandria kissed on day 1 of Love Island USA Season 7 and then spent nearly 2 months pretending they weren't meant for each other. They coupled up with Taylor and Cierra respectively, became best friends while dating other people, got dumped during Casa Amor, chose to save each other, kissed, and decided to just be friends, got back together after Cierra left, made it to the finale as the only day 1 couple still standing, came in 2nd place, and walked out with something more valuable than the cash prize, a real connection. Post-Villa, they've faced pressure from fans who think they should move faster, criticism from people who question if they're really together, and one of the ugliest racist incidents to come out of the season.
Through it all, they've stayed solid. They've taken their time. They've built their individual brands while supporting each other. Olandria's becoming a fashion force, walking red carpets at events most reality stars could only dream of attending. Nick's running marathons and showing up for her every chance he gets.
What makes Nicolandria different from every other Love Island couple? They built friendship first. They didn't rush into physical connection and call it love. They spent time learning each other, with no expectations, no pressure, just genuine interest in who the other person was. When they finally did get together, they had a foundation that most couples take years to build. They had trust, understanding, shared values, and a friendship that could weather whatever came their way. They're proof that sometimes the person you're meant to be with is right in front of you. You're just not ready to see them yet. Sometimes you have to date the wrong people to recognize the right one. Sometimes the universe has to force your hand, literally dump you both from a villa and make you choose each other or go home before you'll admit what you feel.
And here's the beautiful part. They're still writing their story. They haven't rushed to make things official or put labels on it just because that's what people expect. They're going at their own pace, planning hot air balloon dates while also just wanting to sit on a couch and do nothing together. They're supporting each other's dreams while building something together. They're showing up for each other even when it's not convenient. From secret admirers to fashion power couple to the relationship everyone's rooting for. Nicolandria has given us one of the most genuine love stories to come out of Love Island. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Not because they got it right the first time, but because they were willing to try again. Not because it was easy, but because they decided it was worth it. The villa might be over, but their story, it's just beginning. And something tells me the best chapters are still ahead.
If you made it this far, you're clearly as invested in Nicolandria as I am. So do yourself a favor and subscribe, because I'll be following their journey and bringing you all the updates, the fashion moments, and yes, even the drama. Unlike Nick and Olandria in the villa, I won't keep you waiting. Hit that like button too while you're at it. Let me know your team Nicolandria in the comments below. And remember, good things come to those who wait, but great content comes to those who subscribe. See you in the next one.